Okay, welcome to Crate Training 101. Basically, what I want to do is cover some things that are going to help you get ready for the actual program. So let's start off with why crate training. Well, there's a lot of reasons why crate training. Back in the early 80s when I started training dogs, people didn't sell crates. You didn't find crates at, pet stores or what have you. It just wasn't something that was available back then. The only thing that people had were shipping crates that were made for shipping pets. And those pet carriers, generally speaking, were fairly expensive in the hundreds of dollars. And you had to get them special order, and really nobody saw a use in it. As a matter of fact, the only way that I could find to confine dogs was I came up with a very elaborate hook and chain system that had to be drilled in to the baseboard underneath the sink. And let me tell you something, there were a lot of people that didn't want me making holes in their baseboards. So as crates became popular, people started using them. Now, there are times when using a crate is the worst thing you could possibly do. And I'm going to tell you the biggest time that I see that, actually the two biggest times. The two biggest times are, number one, when you've got a dog who is basically a dirty dog. A dirty dog is a dog that doesn't mind laying in his urine or stool. Now, that's not the same as having a dog that will go to the bathroom in the crate, but because the crate hasn't been properly sized, which we will get into in a little bit, he goes to the bathroom on one side of the crate and then, kind of sleeps on the other. That's not really a dirty dog. That's a dog that just understands how much room there is and he's able to kind of, play the game. What we're talking about is a dog that does not mind actually laying in his urine and feces. That's the kind of dog that needs to be outside, used to going to the bathroom over a period of time. And that's the kind of dog that you don't want to start the crate training process with, at least not right away. That dog needs plenty of outside time. That dog needs to adjust to the idea of going to the bathroom outside. Maybe that dog was raised in a kennel where it never got on the grass. I've seen that hundreds of times. Maybe that dog was raised in such a way that he was abused or he just has issues. People have come to me with dogs that had been corrected improperly and they were terrified, especially being in a crate. Those kinds of dogs really don't do well. The other kind of dog that doesn't do well, aside from the dirty dog, is the dog that has anxiety issues. Now, when I say anxiety issues, I am not a big proponent of separation anxiety. When I work with a dog that is fearful or has anxiety issues, 9 times out of 10, the issues arise from not having been taught that you can live by yourself. You could be comfortable on your own. You don't have to have somebody around you 24/7. It's like having a child. When my kids were little, we had to teach them that it's appropriate sometimes for mom and dad to play with you and interact with you, but there are going to be times when you really have to kind of play by yourself. And so if you're at the office and we're busy, you're going to have to sit down and read or play a game or, do something together that doesn't involve us constantly interacting with you. Well, dogs are the same way. If no one has taught them to play by themselves, they get very anxious because they feel like they need to have somebody else to work with. That's a situation that needs a little bit more finesse to work through. One of the videos that we're going to get into a little bit later on is going to help somewhat with that, but that's going to be something that's going to have to develop over time. That's why I wanted these preparatory videos to help you kind of work through the process. Now, when it comes to purchasing a crate, the biggest thing that I see is a lot of confusion between the wire crates and the plastic crates. Both of them are going to perform the same function. You're still going to be able to use them, but this is the big but. When it comes to the plastic crates, those crates represent a much more closed-in claustrophobic space. They are fine for shipping. They're fine for traveling. But for crate training, I personally don't like them. I would much prefer to use a wire crate than a plastic crate. And the biggest reason for that is because what we want to develop is your dog's ability to look at the house as being eventually what he doesn't want to go to the bathroom in. And so with that closed-in plastic crate, a lot of times what ends up happening is they develop kind of a house within a house where that's their closed-in little cubby, and they don't want to go to the bathroom in that. And when you take them out of it, then they just go to the bathroom wherever, because outside to them is outside of the crate. We want an open air environment. That's really why, I mean, if I could keep using those, they really work well. But that eye hook and chain system that I had worked really well simply because dogs saw that they weren't confined because they could see everything around them. They couldn't move, but they didn't feel confined. Even though they couldn't go that far, you could lengthen that out and they could get further. As we get into the end of the program, we're going to teach you how to do the same thing with a crate and a couple of doggy gates, and you're going to be basically at the same point. But I would prefer you use the wire crate to give them that open air feel. So when it comes to sizing your crate, there is a very simple rule. Basically, all a dog needs as far as room within the crate is the ability to stand up, turn around, and lay down. They are not there to run marathons. They're not there to exercise. They're not there to do a lot of the things that people think they should be doing, playing all day. That's not what they're there for. They're there to relax. They're there to be confined. They're there to be trained. Now, bear in mind, this is not going to be forever. When you start talking about crate training, you're talking about keeping them in that confinement until you get them to the point that they can be in the rest of the house, or that they can be even in a section of the house. We're going to get into that towards the end of these videos, but the point here is don't think of this as being a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365. That's not how it works. You are pushing towards a goal, and the goal is to get them out of the crate. But while they're there, they need to have two things. They need to be they need to be comfortable, and they need to be closed in enough to make them feel like if they have to go to the bathroom, they're going to end up having to sit in it. So if you've got a young puppy, you don't want to have to go through all the stages of your puppy's development purchasing crates along the way. A lot of crate companies, especially the wire crate companies, have seen fit to provide dividers. Now, those dividers are really going to help you because you can take that wired crate, you can measure out your dog from the tip of his nose to his behind, not his tail, and then add about a half a length to that, and then put your divider in. Now, as your puppy gets older, you just remeasure and divide until you finally work through the whole crate. If your puppy's having problems, you can always take some of that extra space away until you get things ironed out. But the point here is by setting your crate up properly, using the divider if necessary, you're going to be a lot better off than giving your puppy the whole crate and then him kind of packing all of his waste on one side and then sleeping comfortably on the other. That's not what we're looking for. So that's what I would suggest as far as that goes. Now, as far as where to put your crate, one of the things that I've seen many times is people putting their crates in the bedroom, putting their crates in the laundry room, putting their crates in the garage. Don't do that. The whole idea of crate training is to eventually get your dog to understand that it's the house that you're not supposed to go to the bathroom in. Putting your dog away from everything and not keeping him central to the middle of the house, or at least to the most central areas of the house, is not really going to help you. Keeping your dog in your bedroom may sound really good because when your puppy cries, you're right there and you can console your puppy. Really what you're doing is you're telling your puppy, you know what, every time you cried, I'm going to come and rescue you. And basically what now you've done is you've created a puppy that will never get over the whole crying thing. They'll cry and fuss and whine in the crate, and you'll never be able to get them crate trained simply because you can't keep them in the crate quietly. So let's not do that. As we get further into the program, we're going to talk about correcting. We're going to talk about not putting up with certain behaviors. And I think that's really going to help you because you have to define what you feel is the right thing for your family, what's the right thing for your situation. But at the same time, you have to come first. Your puppy needs to understand that they can't do certain things, that there are rules to the house, and that crying in the crate is breaking the rules. So once they understand that, they'll stop doing it. So keep your puppy in the kitchen, the dining room, someplace centrally located, someplace where, maybe there's a tile floor or a vinyl floor, someplace where there's no carpet. I know this is going to be a little bit difficult because some houses don't have that much space, but do your best to locate your crate as central to the middle of the house as possible, and then give yourself an exit from the crate as close to the door outside to the yard as you possibly can. That can be anywhere from, 15 feet, 10, 15 feet down to, 5 or 10 feet on up to 20 or 30. It really depends. The size of your house is going to count into that and where you put it. But the more centrally located that crate is and the easier it is to get from the crate to the outside, the better off you're going to be. So this is the beginnings of Crate Training 101. I hope you enjoy the course, and I will see you on the next video.